Hello and welcome to Is This England, a show where we talk about old and new England games and ask just how England was this.
Today, we're doing our first ever remote episode because it's World Cup time. England have arrived in Qatar in style.
You may be a stranger. That's what time can do. Baby, you mean everything to me.
Nick, we're here. We're not together, but, we're doing a pod. We're doing a bloody pod.
We're doing the pod, aren't we? First remote one, as you say. That's exactly what everyone wants to hear when they're a big podcast fan. Is we're not in the same room today, but we're still doing this. We're pushing through, and we're just going to get through it.
It's been a big week for Is This England? We had our first, so we're doing our first remote show now, but we've also done our first live show ever this past weekend gone. Nick, how did you feel about Is This England live?
Yeah, I thought it was really a lot of fun once we got everything kind of sorted. Thank you to kind of everyone who came to the pub with us and just talked a lot of England, really. It was a lot of fun and yeah, just kind of got us in the mood. Once we got it out of the way, I felt that we could actually sit and enjoy the World Cup, which I didn't feel
Yeah.
like I would be able to do up to that point. But yeah, loved it. And yeah, just nice seeing so many people out.
Very true. Another big development in the Is This England world is we are now going to be called Is This England versus Argentina? Because for some unknown reason, I think we said it before when we did the 1966 England versus Argentina game that numbers went up quite a lot for that episode for some reason. Boy, that has been mammoethed by our latest episode, which has just done on its own probably about 10 times as much as the rest of all of them put together in like a week. It's insane.
Is it just like the people who'd come to the live show hadn't really listened before, so they were just like, "Oh, better catch up on this and see what all this nonsense is about," or is it really just people are so into "Is this England versus Argentina"?
Well, if you think it's the live show one, then that was 25 people, and by the calculations, those 25 people would have had to have listened to that episode around 10 times, more than 10 times each in preparation. So I'm not sure it's that. I think, you know how it's like when you say follow a band on Instagram or Facebook and they'll put up a post, any old post. Here's a picture of our guitar player. Here's our album cover. And the first comment is always, come to Brazil. Come to Brazil. Regardless, I think it's just that sort of South American thing. I think it's all Argentina fans just downloaded anything with Argentina in the name.
Have we actually done Argentina winning a single game yet, though? Like, do they just like really hate somewhere? There's just someone that really hates Argentina, and they just like, yes, get this in there.
Maybe. We definitely haven't done them winning. I was going to say that we never would, but we will because it's a really good game where Peter
Yeah,
Shilton gets done.
there's another one actually in '98 as well. There's another good winning one there too.
Oh,
I
yeah?
think they've only played it. They've only played each other something like 8 times in their history, which I'm
Yes,
just like stunned about.
well, I don't know how many times we've played Iran, but we did on Monday. The Qatar World Cup is underway. The hosts got their asses handed to them by Ecuador. And then the next game was England versus Iran. 6-2. I was about to say 6-1. We're obviously a couple of days removed from that game now. And by the time this goes out, we'll be looking forward to the USA game in a few hours. Just to get the working day out of the way, get down the pub at 7 o'clock, England versus USA. Obviously, all the reviews have been done really for the Iran game, but let's just touch on it. I mean, a very, very strong and entertaining start to the tournament from England.
Yeah, definitely. It was. I think we were speaking just before the game, and there was just all the crap had started coming out about, oh well, they're not going to wear the armband, and there'd been a lot of things on during the coverage that did highlight the issues that are going on in Qatar and with all the World Cup and and it just felt disgusting going into it. And it kind of felt like I always thought England would win, but I thought it would be a really miserable, people are going to have something to complain about win. But
Yeah,
actually, what happened is England showed up and kind of done what few teams have done so far, as we're almost through the first round of games, is that they've put someone away very easily. We're able to rest players and actually convince, and there's been very little of that so far, I think.
definitely. All the good boys got their goals, didn't they? Really, all the really nice lads. It was. I'm trying to even remember now. There was that many. There was Sterling. There was two for Saka. There was Rashford,
Yes.
Grealish, and Jude
Bellingham.
Bellingham. Yeah, who started things. Bellingham is seriously exciting, isn't he? He was so good in that game. He's just very long. Like
Yeah.
the ball seems to be like sometimes he will mistouch a ball and it bounces off him, and you're like, oh, it's going away from him. And then he just like sticks his leg out about 6 feet ahead of him and just claws it back like an incredible spider.
He does, yeah. And actually, it's not just the ball that kind of bounces off him, it's players as well. There was points in the game where like people would try and take the ball off him, and they would just like come and like hit his back, and then like just nothing happened to him. Like he didn't move, they did. And he just like I've liked Bellingham from the very little bits I've seen of him. I think I've just never seen him really perform for England yet, apart from in the Germany game we talked about a couple of
Yeah.
months ago. But what he did in this game is that he really showed up, and even just being 19, like I say, put in like a big person performance. And when he scored the goal, I was talking to one of the guys we were with, watching the Iran game together, and I was kind of like, "Oh, you see that number 2 for England? Oh, he's about to come on the screen now. See that number 2? He's only 19. Oh, he scored!" And it just happened instantly. I was like, "Yeah, that's the one I was talking about. There you
number
go."
number 22, not 2.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, 22, isn't he? Yeah.
I did. I was busy yesterday, and I forget what I was doing. Oh, we went to a gig, didn't we? At some point, I looked at my phone,
Yes.
and there was a quote from one of Jude Bellingham's younger, well, one of the coaches from when he was really young at Birmingham, and they were saying, well, we wanted him to be like a number 4 or something like that, like a kind of deep player. Then he looked like he might be a number 10. Then he was going to be like a number 8 and do a box to box. And by the time it was all said and done, we were just like, let's give him 22. All of those put together, which is pretty
With
cool.
the number that's now retired as well from Birmingham, which we all laughed at, but now I think we owe them an apology, because like, yeah, that's probably fine now, isn't it?
Absolutely, he scored a goal for England at the World Cup. One of the youngest scorers for us ever at that tournament. The good stuff. Let's continue with the good stuff just a little bit more. I thought Saka, who we've championed. I mean, it's not a hot take, is it really? But my
Saka,
God,
good player.
my God, he was good. He looked really so direct and so attacking and so like, what's the word? He got the results as well, didn't he? You know, the end product was there.
Yeah, and he kind of played a bit further inside than what you'd kind of maybe see a winger do. But I guess that is that inverted winger. They're always going to want to cut inside. But he kind of linked the play well when Trippier would go down the right. He was always involved. He had a bit of bravery in terms of actually taking on like the Iran players who were pretty much just penned in their half for like most of the game, really. And yeah, he showed no fear in doing that well. A brilliant finish from the header back from Maguire. And it felt like whenever England got a corner, it was just like, right, this is going to hit Maguire or going to go near him. So, and then something's going to happen, because there was a penalty
Yeah,
that wasn't given early on, which is like, if you're giving the Iran one and some of the others we've seen so far in the tournament, you're giving that. But there was also in the same incident, I think they were so convinced not to give that one. John Stones went over as well.
yeah.
And it seemed that every time England got a corner, it was like being back at the 2018 World Cup. It was just exciting, and you were like, right, something could come from this. And yeah, Saka was beautiful first. I don't think his second was actually deflected. I think when I watched it first, I thought it took a nick off someone, but it was a nice finish as well, and an all-round great performance.
I was in the bathroom, so I'll have to take your word for it. I just heard the cheers. Let's talk. Let's get on to the bad stuff then, and it all starts with Harry Maguire, but not in the way you'd think. I would say Harry Maguire
Okay.
had a really good game, but kind of went off looking strangely strange. I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
I think he said he was. What did he say it was just an injury? Because he looked like he was like he just got hit with like instant COVID or something like that.
Yeah, I think he said that he just kind of he started to feel ill, which it just
Yeah,
seems just strange to that just comes out of nowhere. You just go, I'm so ill I can't stand up.
and they had just
Like
scored as well.
yeah, I mean it could be just a bit of an excuse of just well, I've buggered up slightly because the guy ran behind him, even though I do think when you look at the goal, you look at the line England are holding, and it's John Stones that's way too deep
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
not covering Maguire to do that. And Stones could have been at fault for an Iran goal that I think Jordan Pickford pushed onto the post as well during the
Right.
game. But yeah, it was kind of like the player had ran behind him. He hadn't kind of tracked him as well, and it was just instantly I'm ill and I'm coming off now. And the insane man who is Eric Dyer came on for England as well.
Yeah, the sticking with the Harry Maguire bad omens thing. The penalty that you mentioned, that the penalty that wasn't given, and then the penalty that was. So Harry Maguire didn't get a penalty in the first half, despite what looking like it should have been one. But England let in a second goal in the I think it was the last kick of the game, probably about
Pretty
100 odd
much.
minutes gone, and we got to see 100, which was great.
Even though that's become very normal now throughout the whole of the World Cup, we're just getting they're just trying to get in another like bit of football, aren't they, for their TV money, I think.
Yeah, 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 true. But that second goal, can you imagine anything more England than that coming to bite us in the arse? And goal difference wise, we end up finishing second in the group. We're in such a strong position now, but I was doing some head maths in the shower this morning, and it was I think basically if we like lost a game and won a game, then it would be down to like who would win against Iran most out of USA and Wales,
Yeah,
basically. And just imagine it, couldn't you? One
yeah.
goal that last, and then we look back and go, "Is that bloody penalty?" And now we got to play France.
Yeah, it was really annoying, was it? But I guess it's kind of like it's not very England to concede that goal and it not matter. That would have been like a couple of years ago. That would have been like the equaliser. Like I remember the Tunisia game in 2018. They got a really dodgy penalty against England in that game too. And I remember just thinking, now here we go. This is where it all kind of falls apart. And it did for a little while in the Tunisia game, but it kind of didn't matter, did it? Because England had already sewn the game up, but also had been able to just change a lot of their players. So they brought on a lot of the subs and kind of finishers. And actually, you look at
Yeah,
England now and think the big problem's been where do you fit in all these attacking players? How do you get the best of them? But what you do is you see the game off very early, and then you bring on these other players to, Rashford and Grealish. They both got their goals. Wilson very unselfish in one of his assists. Foden looked good when he came on. So you kind of think, actually, a tired team having to play these new players that have come on, I think that's just like a really exciting thing that I'd probably not considered enough. I don't think people do because people just go, someone so has to start. No other
yeah.
thing about it. We can't make any substitutes. If you do, you've got it wrong. Well, actually, it's a positive, and you want to change it to so that these players can come on and influence games at the last stages.
It's a really good shout. That, to be fair, I think there'll always be a part of everyone who wants to see their favourite players start, just because it feels like
Mm.
the prestige position to be, and I guess it is. But yeah, definitely agree. And the subs did a great job. But sticking with the lows and the negatives, Harry Kane, is he injured?
Yes.
I think Harry Maguire, despite being in our bad column for the news, I think Southgate said he's able to play against USA, so he's back in the good column. I think Kane will probably play as well, but there's been a lot of talk about him having a strapped up ankle and kind of limping around a bit and training on his own maybe and stuff like that. What do you think is going to happen, or have you heard anything that I haven't in the last couple of hours? And if it's the worst case scenario, can we handle it?
Yeah, it came out a couple of days ago that actually, it's 3 weeks he's going to be out for. He's having a scan. It's the end of the world. All that kind of stuff. And then I think someone asked, I don't know who did the press conference today. I want to say it was Jordan Pickford, or
Yeah,
someone like that. And they was like, "Yeah, he's fine." like just like it's like when you've like not like met a friend for a long time, but you've got a mutual friend. Like, oh,
Yeah.
how's so and so? Oh yeah, they're fine. Yeah, don't worry about them. They're all right. So maybe it's not going to be too much. I think get the job done against USA. You don't have to play Harry Kane in that second game against Wales. Hopefully that's what you can do. Unfortunately, if you go into that USA game and you draw it or you win, then really it's still going to come down to the Wales game. So you're going to play Harry Kane, so you've got to risk him a little bit more. Would you kind of go, let's not play him, bring him on if needed, and then
Yeah.
do you make that? Does Southgate make that call, or does he try to run him into the ground like Conte did?
I think Kane will give him no other choice but to run himself into the ground. He will
Yeah.
lie. He will straight up lie to Gareth Southgate's face about how he's feeling to play. Should we look at the other two teams in the group then? Because a few hours after England and Iran wrapped up their 100-minute plus game, it was time for Wales versus the USA. I saw bits of this, ended 1-1.
Mm.
I saw about 25 minutes of the first half and all of the second half. And it looked like two totally different games, really.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
it did. I was kind of watching it as well. I'd stayed in the pub after the England game to watch the Netherlands game. Gets quite foggy after that point. And then watched the USA Wales game, which I thought was it was good. I thought, like you say, USA started off really well. Wales didn't really have a response for them, and then Wales kind of kept pushing the second half. I think there was a good save from the USA goalkeeper against Ben Davies, and they kind of just kept plugging away, even if they didn't really create tons. And Bale and Ramsey just looked really below par at times as well.
Yeah. I think with Bale, it's one of those as well where I think we've said before, we would have rather had the Wales game earlier in the group than the last game, just in case, because you don't want anything to kind of be hanging on that Wales game if you can help it. But also, that's probably what Bale needs to get up to his best, is probably 2 or 3 games of consistent footballing. It might kill him. It might actually force his legs to drop off. But on the other hand, it might just be like, okay, he's warmed up now, so by the time he comes around to play in England, he could be at the top of his powers.
I mean, he's just dedicated his body to Wales anyway, that and golf. So
Yeah.
he's going to leave his body to Wales. It's going to be at a World Cup, and to do it this way, because I thought he was poor, but then again the narrative just takes over. So he scores. It's like Gareth Bale for Wales never fails, and it all
Yeah.
just kind of happens. And then you're just like, well, he was really poor. Like the
Did you
penalty,
see
like
that? Did you see the meme that went around? It was like it was the commentary just after the Bale goal, and it was like the meme was how does Ricky Gervais keep getting all of these lead acting roles and what have you? And then it was just the commentator going, he writes his own scripts. And it just made me chuckle, the brain to think of that. But yeah, I thought he looked really,
yeah.
really, really below par in that game. And like you say, it's great that he got the penalty, and the narrative is that he's pulled them back. But maybe his role is like to be there for those moments and to lead the team. Did you also see the thing when he was talking to one of the subs who'd not long come on, and he was like, "Look, I know it's hard, but you just got to keep running. That's what you've got to do."
You've got to keep running because I can't, and I need to be here to take set pieces. So basically, I can't run anymore, and I've wrecked my body for years by
Yeah.
sitting on Real Madrid's bench, but taking all that lovely chewy money. So
Yeah,
you need to do my work, bitch, is what he's basically saying to whoever came on.
that's
And
a
now
good
they've got
point.
two of them in two of them in Aaron Ramsey as well, who plays for Rangers, I think now, and he's got a horrible, like, awfully dyed yellow haircut as well, which is
Yeah,
terrible.
yeah, you're right. Actually, to be fair, but maybe that's just Bale's style of leadership. So it looked like a game of two halves, really, and America or the USA were the stronger team in the first half. And is it George Weah's son? Was it who scored the goal?
Timothy Ware, yeah, very well taken goal. He looked really good. The rest of the USA team just bits and bobs, weren't they? They never really dominated for large periods. You kind of felt that the goal for Wales was coming, even if they weren't kind of put, like the keeper wasn't putting save after save. But they just kept kept going with it, and you kind of just think, well, they'll have moments against England where they'll cause England problems. But, I think people made a bit too much of England conceded the 2 goals against Iran. Really, they only let up one other chance, which was like an individual mistake. And if it's going to come, it's probably going to come from individuals for England. But yeah, a really interesting game just around the corner against USA. I think it's Friday night. It's going to be pubs. Pubs are going to be packed out. We've all got our reservations in, thinking, right, this is the one, really, isn't it? Of like a Friday night World Cup England game.
It's a bit delayed in terms of the a bit delayed in terms of the World Cup fever spreading, because obviously it was muted World Cup fever anyway, and then you had the first game being at midday on Monday. Like the worst. I mean, the only time it could have been worse is it was like 8:30 a.m. on a Monday, and it wasn't far off there. But now it's Friday night, and everyone who's had to miss that game or what have you will buy in, and hopefully England can put in a big performance and kind of skyrocket from there. What do you think the chances of that are? I'm very confident. I'm very confident of winning all 3 group games in style now. I think we look strong, man.
Very confident of being in the pub come kick-off time. That's what we're confident about.
That's the only guarantee we can make.
Yeah, exactly. We'll turn up, England. I kind of felt that England would win against Iran. I do think they'll probably beat Wales, just because. And the more I've looked at them, I think maybe it's a squad a bit out of time. They've just it is like a last hurrah for some of those Wales players, and some of the ones who are coming in maybe aren't at that level yet. And it's Gareth Bale, so I don't think maybe any of them will ever hit that level. But the USA one is the awkward one, where you kind of think, again, there's narrative around that as well, because I think USA tried to make more narrative around it themselves, because usually they beat England at any sport that they're close at, and they don't really come up against each other in sporting competitions usually on an international scale. So this is one of their few chances. This is one of their few chances to do that. So they kind of think, this is where we'd put everything in, and they've got Iran last. That could be really tricky, because the Iran players will, and the country will kind of be up for that, really.
And they're probably not as bad as England made them look as well. They probably were shaken by having the goalkeeper nearly decapitated in the first half as well. That was rough. There was another one of those. What was the game where that happened? Oh my God, did you see it? Was it Mexico or something like that? Proper flying knee to the face from a goalkeeper to a player.
That was the Saudi Arabia game, wasn't it?
Was it? Yeah.
Saudi Arabia against Argentina, because it was a last minute. They were like trying to hang on, and they'd done so well defensively and stayed in the game against Argentina kind of in the first half, and they could have fallen well behind. And then it was just that last little period. The goalkeeper went absolutely crazy. He flew out, kneed his own defender in the face, and then was just screaming and running around and then sitting on the floor. It was just this is it's just madness. Everything's just going on, and there's another hour to play because of injury time now because of this.
Yeah. So moving on, I guess, then to the wider World Cup, quite briefly, we touched on Saudi Arabia, one of the shocks of the tournament, no doubt, beating Argentina. There's another shock in the form of Japan beating Germany, and not necessarily a shock, but I guess one of the big results aside from that is Spain, who they've taken the tasty title away from England. They look like the most tasty team in the tournament now, surely.
Yeah, most impressive side was England, really, and it's quite good that we've waited, really, and it's waited for this for us to almost get the first round of games in to do this. But I think the Iran game, the result looks better the more the tournament's gone on. Like we said, that no one had really impressed for a while. I think France had looked good but fallible at times, which you think they would do. I mean, they blew Australia away, but they'd fallen behind still, and they had to really pull that one out. But Spain just slapping it down, didn't they? With they're just we don't need a forward for now. Until the exact moment they're going to need one, and everyone's going to say, well, they don't have a forward.
And it'll be Morata, and he'll bang in the World Cup winning goal.
He got the 7th. He came on and got the 7th, which is the most Morata thing you could do. Just to be like, yes, isn't he good? That's another one for him.
Yeah, he always scores. the seventh goal.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with Spain, definitely, and they scare me just in terms of I can't imagine. It's that style of play which we spoke about recently, and it's just you can't imagine what it takes to beat a team who play like that, where it's just they have the ball and you don't. Like who can do? How do you combat that? I guess we'll have to ask Jose Mourinho. Hopefully, he can help
Yeah, and
Gareth out.
yeah, and I think Italy, obviously, in the last tournament, managed to do it to them just by being very Italian in
Yeah,
doing that because that's what they want. But I think maybe this England side is better at times when they are playing on the break. I don't know. I think they're in a bit of a between period of we're going to dominate the ball against the better teams, and to see them do that at points is going to be very interesting when they when they do have a big game against a bigger side. You kind of go, is it the Germany game in 2021 where they stayed in it and they kept everything compact, or is it kind of, oh, we've given the ball away, they've scored, we've never had the ball back since, like the Croatia games and so many others down the years. That's what you kind of worry about, like a backs to the wall performance from those players you could see, but because so much else has gone before, you get worried about it and go, seen this before.
yeah. Do we want to make a score prediction? Put our balls on the chopping board, as it were, for the
Wow.
England USA game. I'll go 3-0 England.
3-0?
3-0 England. Marcus Rashford 2, and Mason Mount 1.
Mason Mount? We haven't really touched on Mount either. He was kind of the
How do I
interesting
come up with
starter
it?
where you. Oh, how do you just right off the dome piece as well? How do you do it?
Yeah, have a brief word on Mount. Sure, I thought he was decent, to be fair.
I thought he was all right. He does that Mason Mount thing where he just gets along in games and like you don't really notice him until someone goes, he's been very good. And you go, yeah, I guess he has. Even though I've watched the exact same thing as you, I can't really tell.
And then he goes off for Foden, who just comes on and looks, oh, we've got to get him in the team somehow. But I'd imagine
to find
Mason
a
Mount
place
will
for
start.
him.
Yeah. What's your prediction then, Nick? You're going to be cautious.
I'm probably going to go 1-1. I'm going to say just because I think it's good. I think it's 1-1. Yeah, but I didn't say England are going to lose. I think it's just one of those games. USA, it's going to mean more to them, and they're going to need the result and to pull it out of the bag because they're going to really need to win that Iran game. But I think England will have enough to get past Wales and top the group really.
Well, we're looking forward to it. Come on, the Free Lions. We'll do another podcast probably sooner in terms of reaction to the USA game than the Iran, and look ahead to the Wales one.
Depends how hungover we are on Saturday, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oh God, yeah. That's a good point. Actually, we'll see. We will see.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody, for listening.